By the end of this video, you'll be able to know how to pull a delicious shot of espresso at home with your Breville Espresso machine. Now, although this espresso machine from Breville might be a different model than yours, the same concepts apply. To begin, I want to go over just a few accessories that I would highly recommend you pick up to make your life a lot easier in dialing in a new coffee or just consistently nailing your shots every single morning. The first accessory would be picking up a kitchen scale. Now, although this is a coffee scale, this is the Akai Pearl, it's definitely a little pricey. However, there are some cheap and affordable options on Amazon and eBay, such as this scale right here that cost me $30, but will still get the job done. Will weigh your coffee, weigh your espresso pretty easily. The second thing I'd highly recommend is picking up a WDT tool. Now again, you don't need to buy the most expensive WDT, but you can probably find these at around $15, $20 a pop, but they will make your shot of espresso taste much better and will give you much more consistency from shot to shot. And lastly, some kind of funnel that'll help you funnel grounds into your portafilter to make for a little bit of a cleaner workspace. Now let's get into making a delicious shot of espresso. The first thing we're gonna go over is ratios. We're gonna go with 18 grams of coffee into a portafilter with about 36 milliliters or grams of water in your final shot of espresso. This is considered a very traditional classic ratio of a 1:2, so 18 grams in and 36 milliliters out. The second thing we'll keep an eye out for is your shot time. Anywhere between 22 to 26 seconds for your classic 1:2 ratio is gonna get you in the ballpark of a tasty shot of espresso. Now, depending on coffee and roast level, that shot time might be a little closer to 26, maybe even 27 seconds. That might come down to 22 seconds. That all kind of depends on the coffee. And if you stick around for the end of the video, we're gonna go ahead and give you some tips on how you can figure out which way to go. And of course, one of the key variables to getting a really delicious cup of coffee is using the right coffee. So right now I'll be using the Guatemala Jorge Mendes, roasted by us, Mirror Coffee Roasters. There's a link down in the description if you want to pick some up. It's got notes of almond, chocolate with a little bit of grape and apple for interest. It works very well and is one of our most popular options to be pulling on espresso. This is where the accessories that I mentioned earlier in the video become really handy. If you'll notice, if you use the built-in Breville grinder, you'll get a lot of clumping in your grounds, which will create a lot of inconsistencies in your shot of espresso. You're gonna take your WDT tool, the spiky needles, and you're just gonna move it around and break up some of those clumps. For tamping, you don't have to tamp super hard, but once you feel that you're getting some decent resistance from the table, you should be good to go. Hit the double cup button on your Breville Espresso machine. "26 seconds went by and I only got 10 grams of espresso coming through. Now, what that tells us is your shot of espresso is way too slow. So you're gonna have to adjust your espresso grind to be coarser. Let's go ahead and change the grind size, pull another shot of espresso, and see if we can get into our target parameters. All right, that looked pretty darn good. We're at 22 seconds and about 39 grams out. If I really wanted to fine tune this, I would go a hair finer. However, we might not know where we need to go with this shot of espresso until we actually taste it. That is actually pretty delicious. Now that you're tasting your shot of espresso, you'll be able to gauge which direction you need to go in. If it's tasting a little too bitter and drying out your mouth, that might be a good indicator that you need to go coarser on your grind size, which will mean that you'll have a faster shot time. On the flip side, if your shot of espresso is tasting way too bright and sour, that might be a good indicator that you need to go finer on your grind size and aim for a slightly longer extraction time. Each coffee will pull differently. You'll have to adjust your grind size accordingly to each coffee. So hopefully this was helpful in guiding you towards making a delicious shot of espresso right at home on your Breville machine. Remember, as we always say, reflect what's good.